Welcome everybody to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Hey, I got Schaefer Music. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Schaefer Mueller music.
Yeah, Schaefer Mueller Music. Schaefer, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. Well, my name's Schaefer Mueller. I was born and raised in Virginia, and then I went to college there before I joined the Army. Dropped out pretty short of a like 30 credits shy of an engineering degree. Joined the Army. I was up in Alaska, went over to Afghanistan, and then came back. Went to LSU in Louisiana, and currently I'm playing music and working in a lab at the LSU Med School. So just kind of running around.
Okay. What made you decide to leave college and go into the army?
I was thinking about joining the Army throughout high school, and my brother-in-law Uh, he's a Green Beret, and I watched him graduate. I think it was like 2012 or 2011. He was all gung ho, and actually it had to be before that. It was probably 2008. But anyway, he was always talking to me about it, and I was looking into it and thinking about it the whole time I was in high school. And then my family was like, "Just go to college first. You're gonna want to do that, and then you can still." And I was in college, and the last 2 years I was there, I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I think I was good at math, so I thought engineering was going to be my way to go, and it was just really boring, and it kept sitting in the back of my mind. So I finally was like, you know what? I started living in my car after a breakup my senior year, and I was like, well, this is the time to do it. I'm just gonna move home and go join up. So I
Yeah.
went to the recruiter. I said, I want to join. I want to do a combat job, and I want to leave in like 2 weeks. And he was like, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure he had absolutely no issues with that.
Yeah, he was like, this is the easiest guy I've ever had to get. Damn.
So what MOS did you come in as?
I came in as a combat engineer.
Okay. I've
So
I've
I
worked with several engineers.
Yeah, so I went in and I told him I wanted to do 18 X-ray, and then he said that I don't know, he was probably lying about that, but he said that I couldn't get a clearance because of my debt and some other stuff. Like I didn't have any crime, but just my living situation before that,
Mhm.
and then I had like 90 something thousand dollars worth of debt. He was like, "Yeah, that debt's gonna hurt you on like a top secret clearance." He was like, "Why don't you do this instead?" So I was looking at infantry. He was trying to push me to do parachute rigger, which I did some research and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That sounds
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
glad I'm glad you didn't choose that.
yeah, he was like, oh, it comes with RASP. And I was like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound fun at all. So I tried doing infantry, and then he was like, it leaves in, I think he said like 8 months or something. And I was like, no, I'm trying to go. To September, like beginning of September. I was like, I'm trying to go right now. And he was like, well, I mean, these are the options. So I went and looked at all of them, and I saw the Sapper School video when I was searching combat engineer, and I was like, "Yep, that sounds cool. That looks
Yeah.
cool." So that's the way I went, and it turned out really, really fun. I think I had a lot of buddies that I met in basic that went the heavy route, and I went the airborne route in a light unit, and I'm glad I did that because I don't think I would have enjoyed the heavy side of it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice having cars and not having to ruck and jump and camp all the time, but once I got over the fact that it sucked out in the cold, I was like, man, I'm getting paid to go blow stuff up in camp and breach doors. Like this is
Yeah.
not bad.
And
So
that heavy side, if I'm not mistaken, they do a lot of like route clearing and
yeah,
man, I couldn't do that shit.
yeah, that's
That 10
like
mile per hour drive for 6 hours shit.
yeah, yeah, that's their main thing. It's his route clearance. I remember doing AIT, and we had to do like breaching, and then also because survivability, mobility, and counter mobility. So the sapper side of it's more like the breaching side, but then we had to learn all the route clearance side of it and walking around this sand pits with mine detectors and little sticks. And I mean, we still had to do that. We had to jump in with our mine detectors on the LZs, but
Yeah.
we um we didn't have to drive around in a truck and just stare out a window hoping that we hit something. We did route clearance for a month on foot in Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and that is when I wish I had a car because we were just walking in a like echelon right formation, just
Yeah.
booking it by foot. So that was the time I was like, man, I wish we had something to drive in.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine, having to use that probe, man? That'd be an ass
Yeah,
fucker, wouldn't it?
hell yeah, dude. We were with the Afghan. Um, I forgot what their name is, but they're bomb guys, and they they, they were crazy, man. We were walking doing a search around the perimeter of one of our OPs, and because we saw somebody come up at night and like dig and whatever, so we were looking for where they might have put something.
Mhm.
and the Afghans are ahead of us, and they're like, stop. And they start stabbing the ground in this like circle with this big stick, like no care in the world. And like, we're all gonna die if we die. Let's just figure it out. And like they just they didn't matter. It didn't matter. They just didn't care. I was like, holy crap. Like, he's going
That
ham on this dirt.
yeah, no way, man. Yeah, I remember seeing some Ugandis out there, with these big bomb suits walking through
Yeah.
fields with mine detectors, and I'm like, whew, I don't know what they make, but it ain't enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Those
no way.
suits are bad too. We got a couple friends because my wife's in the Air Force. We got a couple friends that are EOD here at Barksdale, Louisiana, and they're talking about those suits and like doing PT tests in them and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that I never had to wear a suit. It was just you're in or you're out.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't disarm them. We just bib them, blow them in place. It's like, oh, I think that's one. Let's put some C4 on it, aim it that way,
Yep.
send it.
Yeah, man. That's the best way to handle it right there.
Yeah,
I get it. They want to find signatures and figure out who's making them and all that. Yeah,
yeah. We just
I'm
want
like
to
you. Just
control
blow it up.
that and keep on moving. Get it out the way.
Yep. Yep. So so what year was it you said you came in the military?
2015, I think.
2015.
Yeah,
And then how long did you serve?
4.5 years,
Yeah.
and then I got out 2019 at some point. Um, and then followed my life down to Louisiana. So
It is crazy. I think just about everybody I've talked to lately has, I mean, their whole career is deployed. You
yeah,
know, you come in for 4 years and you spend half of it training and the other half in the desert.
yeah. I think I mean I was lucky and unlucky at the same time. So I got to Alaska after airborne school, and they were like talking about shutting down the brigade and whatnot, making it a combat team,
Mhm.
um, just a tactical combat team. And so they're getting rid of a lot of people, but the Alaskan government and not so much the Alaskan natives, they weren't happy we were there because a lot of them just were still they were born Russian and they became American, so they're like, man, screw the army. But
Yeah.
the rest of them, they were like, we were the major economic piece in Anchorage. I mean, everywhere you go, there's Air Force or Army because it's just so it's not that populated, and you have this huge joint base. So the government wanted us to stay because it was bringing money in, and it was bringing a big boost to the economy outside of the oil. So
Right.
they fought for it, and they pushed. But 2012, I think Bergdahl, when he did all his shit, he was from that unit. So that was the last deployment that unit had gone on. Not because of that, but just because they started talking about getting rid of it not
Mhm.
long after that. And so it was years of they stopped bringing people, then they brought a few people, and they stopped bringing people, trying to do a transition. And so the last deployment before 2017 was 2012. So a lot of the guys had been there for 6 years, and they're like, man, they're getting out. They're like, I never got to deploy, blah blah, all pissed off and stuff. And this deployment came out of, I'm not gonna say nowhere, but it wasn't planned. And I wasn't even supposed to go. So my unit didn't go on the deployment. My direct unit, we ended up building a little straggler platoon to go along with the infantry. And
Okay.
so we just had 20 guys from a mixture of my company and a few others. And we went along with the 501st as their fourth platoon. So
Yeah.
it was out of the blue. I think I knew they talked about it by rumors. And then I went on leave, and I was on leave, and I got a call saying, hey, we're deploying. You need to come back. And I think it was like a week and a half after I got back from leave that we left. So it was a fast thing, but we were like, that's all we wanted to do. We're like, we're trying to deploy. Like, let's go. We kept
Yeah.
hearing these stories about people going to Alaska and never deploying. And so a lot of my buddies came from Bragg, and a lot of them, they were at Bragg for 5 years, didn't, no, it's not Bragg anymore, whatever. They're at Bragg for 5 years, and then
Yeah.
they came up to Alaska for 5 years, and they never got a deployment. I mean, I knew dudes that were in for 10, 11 years, never got a deployment, and they're like, they were
Yep.
pissed about it. And yeah, so I think I got lucky in that sense. 2017 rolled around, and we were there from September 2017 to June 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah. I mean, as the war went on, man, I think the main combat units were just getting pounded. And at
yeah,
that point, because even Hawaii started deploying and
yeah,
everywhere, you just could not get away from deployments.
yeah.
And
They were gearing up after that Moab. That Moab had helped.
Yep.
that's when they got the word that we might deploy. It was right after they dropped the Moab in the Momon Valley, and then it was like, all right, let's go, and that's exactly where we went. So it worked out.
Yeah. We were talking on one of the other interviews. You know, I got a lot of respect for people that signed up after 9/11. You know, and even later into the deployments, because the people that signed up knew what they were doing. They
Yeah,
knew they were signing up to go to combat. It wasn't like, I signed up in '94 and I retired in 2014. So when I came in, there was no, I wonder if I'm going to deploy. I wonder, it was 9 to 5.
yeah,
I mean, we went to the field every 3 or 4 months, and you
yeah.
could set your clock at what time you was coming in to have dinner. So, I mean, it
Yeah,
was an easy life, you
I
know.
think that's partially what I expected because I knew people that were in that weren't in a combat MOS and they weren't in a light unit. And I got warned before I took the airborne contract. This guy was like, I was airborne and then I was in a heavy unit, and he's like, you don't want to go airborne, man. You're gonna be gone every day. You're not gonna have set hours. And he was right. I
Yeah,
got there and we were in the field every month and worked through the weekends and got home just because they felt like doing something till midnight one night. It's just like you never knew when you're coming home, and that was the part that kind of that sucked about it. But
yeah,
we also, I mean, we heard the rumors that the light units deploy more, so and there's a better chance of deploying as infantry if we did that. So that was the kind of the me
yeah.
and my buddies all had this like we want to deploy. We've seen the movies, we want to go. You know,
So what was the cold training like in Alaska, man?
uh, it's it took getting used to that first year. I mean, it's cold there from shoot like September to May, really. It
Yeah.
starts snowing. My first winter up there, we had snowfall in September, and then I didn't see the roads again till May. So a lot of snow. But
Yeah.
Anchorage isn't that bad. It gets down to like I don't know, -30. But you jump up north, it's really cold, and it's you take a flight up there. But where we jump normally, the Malamute drop zones in Anchorage, and it's like 30s. So when it's snowing in October, November, it's nice. You land in the snow, it's warmer. It's actually really warm. If it's snowing outside, I'm happy because it's warm. It's like insulated.
Yeah.
It's when it's negative and it's all ice. It's just miserably cold. So we're digging down, and we had to always jump with a Akio, so a big sled with the stove and the tent and everything.
Oh my
The
God.
first thing we do when we get out to the woods was start digging this huge hole so we could get down to the ground so that the heat didn't melt it and we didn't drown, right? So we dug down and then put the tent up. Like that was the most miserable part, was getting there and spending 4 hours digging a hole and putting a tent down in the hole so it was on ground. And yeah, I mean that was the crappy part. And then trying to like just manage how you wear your cold weather gear so you don't get cold, right? So
Yeah.
you sleep naked and then you get up and you try to put layers on in the right order at the right time so it doesn't like you throw them all on, you walk outside, you're gonna be cold in an hour.
Yep.
But it wasn't that bad. Running every single morning we ran like 4 to 6 miles, and then there was days where we did like 8 to 10. That was miserable in the cold. We had
Oh,
our
I bet.
balaclavas
Yeah.
on and eyelids were frozen shut, and it's just like everything's just
Yep.
iced over. I hated that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine, and I can't even imagine jumping, the landing, and it has to be hard as hell.
Yeah, I think like I said, the best landings I ever had were when it was snowing. Um, when it was icy, it hurt. Because you kind of want to like you want to hit your 5 points of contact, so you're trying to get your feet in this little banana shape.
Yep.
But if it's icy, you're slipping. You're hitting the ground pretty fast, and
Yeah.
I've landed in water when it was like breakup season, and it's still like 30 degrees outside. It just melted during the day and then stuck. That was the worst.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That was the bad part was jumping. I think because I jumping in Georgia, it's nice and warm, and I got stuck in a little heat cloud or whatever it's called, where it starts
Hmm.
carrying you back up, and I
Yep.
was just floating around. I was like, this is nice, soft landing.
Yeah.
No, it was hard landings in Alaska, but sometimes like I remember one time I just smacked the ground, and I was like, my heart rate was all beaten up, and I looked up, and the northern lights were above me. I was like, all right, it's not that bad. Like, I'm looking at freaking northern lights right now. My head hurts a little bit, but I'm looking at the northern lights. So
At least you're seeing shit. So, were you stationed in Georgia too?
no, I was just there for airborne school, so it was a month,
Okay.
and then like that holdover period before the school started, so about a month.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did I did 10 years at Hunter, and then I went off and went overseas and came back, and I retired out of Fort Stupid. So I spent a lot of time there
Nice.
at Georgia. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I got
the landings are probably a lot nicer there.
they are. They are. But they're like I said, there's those little heat pockets though, and they kind of throw you off and
Oh
they get
yeah,
people like stuck in the air, but I'd rather be stuck in the air, I think, than
yeah,
come down harder.
yeah. I've seen some light guys get carried back up. You know, they come out of the plane first, but
Yeah.
you know they're not the first ones on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a weird phenomenon when it happens, but
Oh
it's cool to
yeah,
watch.
yeah, yeah. It is. So, what was it like getting used to? I mean, you know, Alaska. You think weather, winter training, and everything else, and then you go to Afghanistan, and it's not so cold.
Yeah. Yeah, we got there in September and it was hot. It was really hot in September. So I mean, hotter than we were in Alaska. So we left. I mean, luckily we had to do our pre-deployment stuff with at Fort Polk every June. It felt like every June and July. So
The armpit of the
um,
army.
yeah, exactly. So we were there in June and we did all that for the month and did the 20 days in the box. So it was really humid and hot. So I think it was
Yeah.
hotter in Louisiana than it was in Afghanistan when we got there. Just drier in Afghanistan, but
Yep.
we did that and then I want to say 30 days before we left, we jumped into Australia and spent 2.5 weeks in Australia. We did a UN uh, mission with Canada and Japan and the Aussies to kind of do some training thing. So, or NATO, I think it was. No, it was UN. No, one of those two. But it was a joint force effort with the four countries. So we got like all summer we were not in Alaska,
Hmm.
and then so that helped a little bit. But we got over there and it was hell. I think Kuwait was more miserable. It was just so hot. We got to Kuwait and had to stay there for 5 days or something before while we
Yeah.
were waiting to get on a bird to go to Bath, and then we went to Jalalabad, and then we were in Jalalabad for a month doing route clearance out of there, and then we got lucky enough to be there was four platoons that one company, Blackfoot Bravo Company, 501st got selected to go help the ODA. So we were turf guys for the ODA teams out there at the OPs. So we took a Black Hawk 45 minutes outside of Jalalabad and went down to right where they dropped the Moab, and that was where the first OP was. And then there was two, three valleys there. That's how I'd say the Pekka, Momon. It was all in Nangahar.
Hmm.
So we had four OPs scattered that we bounced around. So we were lucky enough to be out there, and that wasn't that bad. I think because we weren't following the rules with the uniform. I think
Yeah.
like Kuwait, everybody was pretty anal about us wearing full kit and our goggles and
Yeah. But
groin
that's
protectors
garrison.
and everything. Yeah.
I mean,
And then
Kuwait's just like garrison.
yeah, we got to Bath and it got a little bit more relaxed. We were there for a week and then got to Jalalabad and it was a little bit more relaxed. Like you didn't have to wear your top. You could just wear your undershirt. And then we got out to these OPs and the SF dudes were like, yo, look, y'all can grow your beards out. We're gonna have the locals come and eat dinner with us a couple times a week. They don't want to see your guns. They prefer you to have beards. And just they were walking around in their ranger panties and no shirt. They were like,
Yep.
do what feels good, man. And so we were out there just chilling, tanning,
Yep. Yeah.
sitting out
Absolutely,
there
man.
pulling security and ranger panties and your vest. That's about all I wore. I never wore any of the other. I mean, I had my helmet on, but
Yeah.
if you weren't pulling security, I was not in any kind of kit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, and I think at the end of the day, there's a whole different army. You know,
Yeah.
between so I was in USASOC for 10 years, and then I went back to the regular army,
Yeah.
and man, I hated it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. You
I think
know.
that's what drove me away from it when I got back because it's just in garrison. The leadership makes it or breaks it, but just certain bases with that overall arching leadership. I mean,
Yeah.
I forgot who the guy was. I mean, I'm not doesn't matter now, but he it was just down to like the most petty stuff on base, like couldn't do this, couldn't do that. It's like, man, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like we were just over here walking around in ranger panties. You want me to wear iPro on base? Like
Yep. Yeah,
like, come on.
absolutely. I mean, I watched an E8 that was standing at the chow hall door. This was in Kandahar, and he got into a pissing contest with two SEALs because one they had a all they had was their little green shirt on
Yeah.
and pants, and they didn't have their weapon with them. And I mean, he just went off, and
Yeah.
I was just standing there thinking to myself, do you know what these guys do?
Yeah.
I mean, when there's people here eating amazing food every damn day,
Yeah.
and these guys are gone, and you don't know it. You know, you're sleeping, and you wake up, and it's just another damn day, and you have nothing better to do but sit there and bitch about
Yeah.
these guys. Obviously, they look different. They have a beard.
Yeah. You can tell.
They're not a regular army unit. You know,
Yeah.
and hell, he could have been talking to an officer. He doesn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You
Or a
know,
contractor that's not even military,
absolutely, yeah,
There are a lot of those over there. But
yep,
yeah, that's crazy. That happened a lot. So we would go out for about 30 days at these OPs, and then we'd come back and eat and shower for 4 days and then go back out to another one. So we just had a constant rotation. So every 30 days we got about 4 days back at Jalalabad airfield to eat and shower, which was a nice shower, but that everybody would rather be out there and not come back because
yeah,
we were every time we came back, it was like, all right, make sure you have this, that. You have to walk around with your iPro. Your PT belt's going to be on your outside so you can see. You better salute everybody that walks by. Like,
yeah.
dude, we were just chilling, working out with rocks in our Ranger panties, getting shot at. Like, there was one time we were working out outside we took over these little mud huts and with their walls and stuff. And one of the flattest spots was outside that. So we were doing like kettlebell swings and little rock tosses. We took like a RPG that, I mean, they're really unpredictable, right? So
Yeah.
it didn't even blow up one, and it missed. It went way down the mountain because they're hard to aim. And then I started taking some small arm fire, and it's like we were doing that, and Ranger Penny was like, "All right, we're gonna walk back and get our gun." And by the time we got our gun and put our vest on, we got back out there, and it was done. I was like, "Yeah, that was very quick." And then you go back to Jaff to go shower, and it's like you can't go to the shower without this, that. Your groin protector. I was like, "Damn, dude." Like, where am I supposed to
Yeah.
put all this shit when I'm showering?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm trying to
And
walk
and
around in some flip flops.
and that's what I never understood about Bath. I did I don't know how many months total, but
Yeah.
I would avoid Disney. Everybody knows Disney
Yeah.
Avenue or Street, whatever they called it. I mean, you just walk with your hand up against your head
Yeah.
because it's nothing but officers walking up and down there. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, why are we saluting? You know?
Yeah. So that was one thing that threw me. I was like, I thought you weren't supposed to salute in a war zone. Like, come on. And they're like,
Yeah.
nah, we still want you to. Like, all
Yeah.
right. Well, that's why they're over there shooting IDF at us right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I watched several times. They would launch rockets in trying to hit the tower, and you just see
Yeah.
them. They just keep walking. I'm just like
Yeah.
looking at the guy up there. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're screwed there, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. The chow hall and the gym, they knew where those were at.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They hit
absolutely.
them
Oh,
all the
local
time.
nationals, pace counted, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, they
Oh,
knew it.
yeah. Easily.
Yep.
But
So you get back from deployment, and then you decide to get out. When did you meet your wife? Was it while you was in the military or after the military?
it was like 2 weeks before I deployed. So
Okay. All right.
we met and then, well, maybe it was like 3 weeks, but we started dating like 2 weeks before I deployed, I think. And just kind of probably not the best idea knowing that you're going to be gone, because then you're all worried and shit. Like, I wonder what they're doing. But it turned out for the better afterwards and got home and we started actually being able to hang out. And at that point, we got to know each other through every time we went back to Jaff, I'd pay for like a week of cell phone service and
Mhm.
call her and whatnot. And so we got to talk a lot more than hang out, which I think might have been better. But we
Yeah.
met right before deployment, got back from deployment, and started. I think I moved in with her not long after that, sometime that summer. And then, yeah, I didn't like garrison life after that. I wanted like two options. I wanted to either stay in and like just deploy again or get out. And I was talking with her and looking at options. And in order for us to stay together, we'd have to go to joint bases. And there's not many combat engineer jobs at joint bases. It's
Yeah.
Fort Bragg or Alaska or Italy. So it was going to be logistically hard. I was like, well, screw it. There was one day my LT pissed me off. And then I got in a big argument. I was a squad leader for a month, and then this dude came in. I wasn't high ranking. He was definitely supposed to be a squad leader, but he came in biggest idiot I'd ever met in my life, and he knew no clue what he was doing. He just got the position because of time in and good PT, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. So we butted heads a lot, and then that kind of set me up for. There was like 2 months where I was in a mood, and I was friends with a lot of. I joined late, right? I joined when I was in college. Hell, my dog just attacked the door and came in. Um, go away. I joined after college, so I got there and I was in E4 with all these like young, fresh 18-year-olds. So I didn't hang out with them. I was hanging out with dudes my age, 23-year-olds and up to 30. So a lot of like outside of work, a lot of captains and shit. Couldn't talk to them at work, but um, mostly like E6s and E7s is who I drank with when I was in E3 and E4. So I'm out drinking with one of them one day, and they're like, "Oh, so and so went to your unit. I got a new platoon sergeant." I think a month after that squad leader got there. There was a big transition after we got back from deployment. Everybody got out, everybody moved,
Yeah.
and I think I was like one of the last guys from the original group that deployed. And he was like, "Yeah, man, so and so like warned him about you. He said, man, that guy's." And I was like, "Oh, that's not good." I used to be like I was the gung ho annoying guy. Like I liked what I was doing and I knew everything. I was the know it all. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, watch out for him. He's a shitbag. And I was like, I'm not a shitbag. They asked me to do that guy's job for him and teach him how to do it. And he pissed me off one day. And I said, I'm not going to teach him how to do his effing job.
Yeah.
And so that kind of was like the last straw for me when I heard them like talking like little schoolgirls behind everything. I was like, man, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this. And
Yeah.
I should have probably moved to another base and it would have been different. That's what everybody always says. But I started playing music right when I got back, and it was starting to take off. So like I had another option, and I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm playing music 5 nights a week. Um, they're getting on my freaking nerves at the unit. Like I'm just gonna get out, relax, drink whiskey, and play music. Like that was the dream. And I was like, this is awesome.
You
So
make me wish I could sing.
it's nice, man. Whenever you get pissed off, you just go, get a job singing or something.
Yeah. I'd clear that bar. That ain't no lie.
Yeah, well, when I first started, it was just for free drinks, and I was like, I could do this all day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So what does your wife do in the Air Force?
Well,
Is
she's an optometry technician, so
okay.
she works in the optometry clinic, and she's been in 10 years now. She's always an augmentee, things what the Air Force calls people that go and do other crap for them. So
Okay.
with the air show last week, and she was pulling security, and then she was in the medic tent. But so for events, she usually changes up and does other stuff because I don't need optometry people at events.
I got
But
you.
yeah, that's what she does.
So
All the
so it's going to be a career for her then.
Yeah, she doesn't want to get out. She loves it. She's got that 9 to 5. Like
Yeah.
she knows her hours, she knows her vacation, she knows everything. It's just she'd be doing the same exact thing if she was out. So why get out? You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, TRICARE is good and
Yeah,
everything else. I don't blame you.
yeah.
And with your career, you can go anywhere.
That was
So
uh that was a big part of it. It's like I can play music anywhere. And then when we got to Louisiana, I was like, man, I was really hoping we could get somewhere like closer to Nashville. But
mhm.
it worked out because I was used to playing 5 nights a week in Alaska, where like an 8 hour drive, you're still in Alaska. 20 hour drive, you're still in Alaska. So
Yeah.
I was playing a lot of villages, but villages are pretty small, so it's not that nice. But I got to Louisiana and I started playing. I mean, I play in Texas once a week, and I go over to Oklahoma and I go to Mississippi, and I'm
Yeah.
able to play in 5 different states in the same week. So
Yeah.
it ended up being a lot better opportunity for me as well.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. So when you so you where how did you decide to start doing the music while you was in Alaska? Was it just you picked up a guitar and said, "Hey, let's go," or
uh, it was mostly my friends that were in
really?
the army
Okay.
with me. So I played growing up, and
Okay.
um I wanted to not go to college. I wanted to join the army or go to Nashville. Those are the two things I wanted to do. And my sister and dad both said, "Well, go to college before you join the army, and don't do Nashville because you can't sing. Just go to college, right?" That's what they were like. You need to go to college. There's no business in music. I was like, all right. So I was in college and I played a little bit, for the ladies, open up the door, sing a little bit on the hall, and I ended up like not pursuing. I was like, I'm just gonna give up this. So I joined the army, took one guitar with me, up to Alaska and just left it in the room, and every now and then picked it up. Well, one of my buddies, he was playing and he was singing some stuff, and he was like, "Hey, I saw a guitar in your room. Do you play?" I was like, I fiddle around a little bit." So I went over there. We played like check yes or no or something, and he was like, "Dang, like you're pretty good at playing." I was like, "Yeah, I've been playing for a while in my life." And fast forward a couple of years, I was playing on deployment. We got a guitar from sling loaded in from the USO, I think, right after Christmas. So there was a guitar out at one of the OPs, and I was writing songs without the guitar for the first couple of months we were over there because you didn't have internet or phone service. So what else are you gonna do? So I
Yeah.
had a notebook and was writing some songs. And I had one buddy there that just like he was all about it. He's like, "Man, when we get back, I want to make music videos for you. You're gonna be big, dude." Blah blah. I was like, "All right, man." So we got back, and he all those guys, actually there was a group of them. They were like, "Man, you should go do an open mic night. Like, go do it over here." And a couple other people talked to me about it. Like, go to this open mic night. I was like, "Man, I don't sing in front of people. That shit scares me."
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So needless to say, I did it one day and had 3 songs, and they got a good reaction from the crowd. And the bar was like, "Hey, do you have 4 hours worth of music?" I was like, "You know what? I can get it. I'll try it." And they booked me for twice a month for 6 months straight. And about 3 months into me playing there every other Thursday, I got gigs through other bars. I never in Alaska. It was awesome. I never called and asked to play anywhere. They they called me. They were seeing there's not that many bars, so a lot of the owners stop it. Sorry.
You're good.
Um, a lot of the owners go to other bars to drink, so they see me and they're like, "Hey, you want to come play here? Hey, you want to come play here?" And before I knew it, I mean, I was playing for 4 months and got up to like 5, 6 nights a week playing around Alaska, and then got calls from some villages and some hotels out in places like Seldovia, Alaska.
Oh wow.
Took off, and I was like, I was still in the army at the time. The first like I played while I was in the army for like 6 months, and then I got out. So that 6 months was a big period where I was like, man, I'm getting paid to play music and drink,
Yeah,
and it's a lot better than getting yelled at over here. Like, this is the life. So when I finally got out, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just go all out and play music.
absolutely, man. You know, and that was so that's kind of how our show started.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if you kind of go back through our history, you'll see a lot of Savahe Army comments and stuff. And then the guy that my first son is who used to be on this podcast with me, and he had this little page called Savahe Army, and it was his version of a nonprofit where they would raise enough money to help soldiers take their kids to. They were big into motocross, so they would pay entry fees for
Yeah.
the kids to go to motocross and different events to help the soldiers be able to afford the trips and everything else. And that's kind of where it came about was his way of trying to help soldiers get highlighted and get their talent out there because there was a lot of talented kids, but the parents just didn't have the money to go to the bigger races and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then, from there, it turned into a podcast and, his little gun business started to take off. And that's where the name came from because we like to drink and, and then, now I'm trying to get a radio station going to get
Yeah.
veterans music on there and get them highlighted and podcasters and comedians. And, it's just been one thing after another, but it's always in the same thing of trying to get veterans out there that say, hey, I've always wanted to try this, but if they didn't get
Yeah.
the shot or they didn't like you, just say, fuck it, one day I'm doing it,
Yeah.
because I think veterans in an industry like that fit, because most veterans are type A personality, and
Yeah.
the comedy and musical industry is so competitive, man. I
Oh yeah.
mean,
You gotta have some tough skin in the first place and be able
yep,
to take some hits and then also pursue through that. Like, I was gonna quit before the army. I was done with music, and then I don't know what it was, but when I got out and that one person was like, "Hey, can you play?" and then people kept started asking me, I was like, "Yeah, screw it, I can do this. Like,
yeah,
why not? Why can't I? Let's freaking do this thing."
absolutely. And then there's the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. They're constantly trying to promote yourself and
Yeah,
get yourself in front of the right people. And I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's the
it's a
part
24/7 business.
yeah, that's the part I was never good at, and so that's where I've been trying to dig in, and my wife's been helping a lot because
Yeah.
I try to talk to people, but if somebody calls me on my phone, I don't answer it, and I answer emails and stuff at the end of the day. Like, that's not my priority throughout the day, and she knows
Yep.
that, and so she's got control of all my accounts and everything, and she answers people for me and then tells me about it. I'm like, thank God. I
Yeah,
get home,
yeah.
she's like, hey, by the way, you got this, that, and the other. I was like, all right, that works. She's managing my life for me.
Hey, that you got to have a manager, man. That's it. And
Yeah,
and it was the same for me. I don't really deal a whole lot with people. And,
yeah,
podcasting has helped me,
yeah,
in that aspect. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm talking to veterans every day and learning different things about different industries, and that's been one thing that has helped me.
yeah. It definitely makes it easier. Like when I got out, hey, I didn't want to talk to. I don't know. I just didn't like the civilian life that much. That first year I was out, I went through some dark times, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the civilian life per se or just the way everything was going, but um, I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't like crowds. I just don't like people enough to be around them. Like I was irritable all the
Yep.
time, and I think playing music. I mean, and granted, like I still don't really like standing with a bunch of people bumping me, but who does? Who likes getting
Right.
bumped in by a
Yeah.
drunk dude, you know? But
Yeah.
being on stage and seeing a bunch of people, I mean, it makes it easier. Like every time I play, I get a little bit more comfortable and I can go meet somebody. Like I don't want to go out of my way to meet somebody that at the bar. Like I don't
Right.
want to take breaks while I'm playing because people will come up to me and like, they want to talk. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, I just want to take a break. I don't want to talk right now. I just sang for an hour. But then
Yep.
we start talking and I can keep a conversation going. And I think it's helped me. Like I've done that. This is like 8 podcasts I've done this year. And the first 2, 3, I was like, I don't even know how to talk because it's not natural. It's like, man, I'm
Right.
trying to. And then it just became like, all right, it's easy now. It's
Yeah.
like we're just talking. I can go talk to people anywhere. I can play in front of people, and it's helped. This industry has helped me a lot because I think I'd be a grumpy old man if I didn't do it. You know,
Yeah.
if I wasn't playing music, I'd probably just hate everybody, and I probably wouldn't have gone back to school. To be honest, because I didn't. I was irritated with like every kid, all
Yeah.
these 18-year-olds and stuff. I went back to school in Alaska before the music kind of started taking off. I was still in, so I was playing music, and I took the last 6 months I was in the army. I signed up for classes, and I think I had it like two months of classes before I got out. But anyway, I was sitting there watching these 18-year-olds just punks, man, and I was like, man, this is pissing me off. So I dropped
Yeah.
out again, and it wasn't until I got to Louisiana and played music for 3 years, was out for 3 years, where I went back in. It's like, yeah, it doesn't really bother me. Whatever, y'all young and dumb, y'all learn.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And that. So when I got out, I became a truck driver. I started. I literally walked from the military and started my own trucking company, not
Yeah,
knowing shit about it. Just went head first into it.
yeah, dive in.
And yep. And I loved it because I didn't have to deal with people.
Yeah,
If I did, it was over the phone with an agent or something like that. And I dealt with the guy that would offload the flatbed, and that was about it. You
yeah,
know, so I loved it. And then my life kind of changed, and I had to make an adjust, and the economy took a shit, and so I closed the business and I moved to Missouri, and now I'm working with civilians in a refinery where you have to wear a respirator, and
yeah,
to hear anybody, your face has to be right into each other's face. And still to this day, whenever somebody talks to me, I kind of look down and look away because
yeah.
I can't stand having somebody right here.
Especially with the mask on, because you can't see their facial expressions. You just see their eyes while they're
Yep.
talking to you. It's
Yep.
like, man, why are you so close to me right now?
Yeah.
Back up.
Absolutely. So what's one of the biggest things that's happened in a show that kind of caught you for surprise?
um, I don't know. It's been steadily growing, so that each time I play, I feel like I get something um new out of it. Like when I first started, actually, I'll say it all the way back when I first started. I was still in the army, and I got a chance to open up for Granger Smith during his USO tour in Alaska, and that would have been like the first big crowd I played for. Right, I'd played
Mm,
in. I think this was 3 months into me playing at a bar. From the time I went in, didn't want to play in front of anybody, did open mic night, played in the bar for 3 months. Boom, met somebody who she's a good friend now, but she kind of weaseled me into this opening position because she worked with the base or whatever on that civilian side of it. So she weaseled me up in there, and I was nervous, and I was like, man, whatever. I'm just gonna do it. And I don't think I think I sang one original and a couple covers. And in this place was the base theater was packed, right? Completely full. So however many that seats. And that was the biggest crowd I ever played for. And I got off. And Granger Smith is coming on after me. That's what everybody went to go see, right? And I get off the stage and there was people coming up to talk to me. And then after Granger Smith, when the people were lined up to go do a meet and greet with him, there was like a group of people that were like lined up to talk to me. And I was sitting in the crowd. They were waiting for the lights to come on so they can talk to me. I was like, that kind of was like the part that solidified it for me because I was still iffy. You know, I'm just a background bar singer at that point. And I was like, man, I'm not a show. I'm a background music, you know? And I think that was the turning point for me too, because I was like, man, these people, they came up and they wanted like to talk to me. They wanted my autograph. Like giving an autograph is a crazy thing, especially when it's like, man, I just played a bunch of covers and you wanted me to sign something? What the hell? And so I think that was the moment where I was like, man, all right, I could do this. I like this feeling. And obviously I'm not as bad as I think because this group of people like remembered, waited, and wanted to come talk to me after an hour. And it was a CMT special. So they were filming and stuff too during all that. Like there's a lot of other stuff going on. And they were like, let's make a point to go talk to this guy. Yeah. So that was where I kind of sat down and buckled in and was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And I've tried to, whether the bars like it or not play background music ever since then. I'm like, I'm going to play like it's a concert people paid for every single show I do. And that's what I try to do is like, go hardcore like this. They're going to listen to me. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to be playing back. There's a lot of guys that play background music and people don't even remember them. But now almost after every gig I've done, small bar gigs where there's 5 people, after every single thing I've done, people have come up and talked to me afterwards. And I'm like, all right, I'm doing something right. If I finish and not one person comes up to me, I'm like, all right, I didn't do something right because I didn't feel like they were watching somebody play music or listening to music. Yeah, it was just background. And my goal is to not ever be background music again because that feeling after that big show with Granger, man, that was that's it. So that was probably the biggest thing and the biggest change for me too.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, man. You know, you saying that reminded me, you know, when I was little, you know, my dream was to be a football player, pro football player. Yeah. And I remember me and my friend talking about, I mean, what were we in 7th grade, I think? You know, we made an effort. We had to learn how to sign our name like an autograph because at some point somebody was going to want our autograph, you know? So I remember, you know, we had notebooks full of just different attempts to try to sign like a football player.
Yeah. Oh, man, I definitely did that. I thought growing up, I definitely never thought music was going to be the thing for me that made people like want to meet me, right? I played football, basketball, and baseball, and I was of those. I was probably, well, I don't know which one I was better at, but I liked football. Yeah. And so that was like, I don't know what I was going to be famous for one day, but I thought I was going to be famous. And it was either going to be football or comedy, right? Comedy was like my thing. I was on the sideline before games, just doing jokes all the time. And this guy, an old friend of mine, he was like, I wish I became a comedian because I could tell him about this. I haven't talked to him in 10, 15 years, but he was like, man, Schaefer, his name's Cody Walls. He was like, man, you're going to be a comedian one day, man. I'm telling you, you're going to be famous and a comedian, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, hopefully, like that'd be awesome. And I started signing stuff. And I think I'd had pages after pages. And there was one page where it was just once I got a signature I liked, I wrote it in lines all the way down until it gets stuck in my head. Like I can do it all the time now. And yeah, I did that exact thing. And it was about probably 7th grade. It was in middle school when I got that signature that I use now. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to use this when I'm a comedian one day. I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. I'm going to be funnier out there. I'm going to be a Dane Cook and stuff, you know? Didn't turn out that way, but there's still time.
Yeah, man. You know, I've had a few comedians now on the show. And I think that's probably even more brutal than music. And it is a struggle.
Yeah, well, shoot, man. There's not as many opportunities. Like it's hard. You can't just be like go to a bar that has, well, not a lot of bars have comedy, right? So you can't just go somewhere and be like, hey, I do comedy. Can I come in here and do it one Saturday?
Yeah,
take a shot. Like, no. And then the rejection of it. Like if I play a song that's not that good, people just don't say anything, you know, or if they're not feeling it, like same thing with comedy. If they don't feel it, they're not laughing. Well, if they don't feel the music, they're not clapping or cheering. But at the same time, some people just don't clap and cheer for music. And comedy, you're feeding off that. And so you say a
Yeah.
joke and then it's just dead quiet. It's like, well, that one missed. All right, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine, and the Marine I was just talking to this last week, I told him, I said, man, there's just no way,
Yeah.
and I heard through the grapevine, talking to some of these musicians, a lot of them will take a few drinks to warm up
Oh
their
yeah.
vocals. I said, yeah, I need a lot more than a few more
Yeah.
drinks to get my ass up.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to an interview of some musician, I forgot who it was, and they said they drink whiskey to warm up their vocal cords and stuff. I was like,
Sal Gonzalez.
oh yeah, see, and I was like, man, I should probably do that. I just drink whiskey because I don't like being in front of people, and I'm like, if
Yeah.
I drink a whole lot of whiskey and people don't clap, I'll just make a joke and then keep playing, and so it works out that way. And that's usually if I start losing people's attention, I'll say a joke, but I definitely don't drink for the vocal cord part of it. I drink for the anxiety part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody says so. You listen to some of these interviews that the really top stars do, and they all talk about
Yeah.
their times that they've been on stage and made mistakes and whatever. I can vouch that does happen. I was at a Tim
Yeah.
McGraw concert,
Oh yeah.
and he was singing Indian Outlaw,
Mm.
and he sang the same verse twice.
Twice.
Yeah. He forgot
Yeah.
where he was at in the song. And then he was yelling. He could turn around, he could hear he was yelling at the band for not letting him know.
Yeah. Like, so this was all the way until the last couple of months. I think I really like, I listened to a lot of artist interviews on like Bobby Bone Show and stuff. And
Mhm.
I just try to, hear what's going on. And um, I was in the mindset like they never mess up. That's why they're famous, And I've seen them mess up a couple of times. I've seen people like forget words, and then like you said, like I've heard some interviews. Who is it? Brooks from Brooks and Dunn. Um, Ronnie, Ronnie Dunn, not Brooks. Ronnie Dunn. He was like, yeah, I in my in ears, I have the words constantly going to every song because I'll forget them. Like, because I was sitting there like, man, I got 4 hours of music, and I feel like a shitbag for having my iPad up here to like read the words. Like I look down, like, oh yeah, that's the verse I'm on. Because I'll double up a verse. I'm like, shoot, Old Red, I play almost every gig, and there's times where I either leave out the middle verse or I repeat it twice. I'm like, I can't get it right. What the hell?
You
Because
gotta
I just
make up
start
for the
feeling
last
it,
time.
and I'm like, ah, crap. All right, and I just said that. So, but that interview, he was like, yeah, I mean, he has the words, just sing along with the words in his ears. I was like, well, that makes me feel so much better. Like he's been doing this for 30 years, and he said he still, after 30 years, he still forgets lyrics. So he needs them in, even for like Boot Scoot and Boogie. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, I don't feel so bad now. Cause it's like my own songs, and my band's like, do you really need to like look down and have a cue for your own song? I'm like, no, I know the words. But when we come out of a solo, I don't remember what part of the song we're in because I like get lost and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh shoot, I just did that verse. Like I just look down and be like, that's the verse I'm on. All right.
Yep.
Like just to remember where I'm at.
Get the little
But
karaoke ball going.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
man.
artists that have like a lot of rock dudes too. Like they have the first line of every verse. That way they don't mix up a verse. And it's like, man,
Okay.
I like that idea. But I don't use any ears. But I have some. I'm just not good with them. So when you
I
have
think
stage
it
monitors, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I think it would fuck me up to hear somebody
Yeah.
talking to me because I'd
Yeah.
stop singing to listen to what.
Right. And if you miss it just a little bit, you're like you're off just by a hair. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, now you're trying to fight it and you can't tell. You're like hearing it and saying it. You're like, oh man, this is, and you can't
Yeah.
with the in-ears in, they're noise canceling. You can't hear the crowd. You can't hear anything except for what's coming through the feed. So all you would hear at that point is you and the other mic and then the low band. And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. No way can I do it.
Yeah.
So what's the big goal? Because I see a lot of military guys. They're a lot of their promotions are through like veteran events and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And going through yours, it really doesn't seem like you're on that track. Do you promote yourself, or are you part of a
Yeah.
promotional group?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little bit of both. When I got to Louisiana, I got up with this guy from the VFW and I did a show for them, this festival called Vet Fest. And I did that for free. And then the next year I did it. And then they had me come back the next year. So they promote me. And that page that Vet Fest is on, whenever I have a show for anything, they promote me because I did that for them. Um, And there's like a couple other veteran things that I'm a part of that do that. But then also, I promote myself for shows at like bars or venues around town or in
Hmm.
Texas and whatnot. That's not affiliated with any military type thing. There's a page and like a little radio station here in Louisiana or in the Arklatex called Arklatex Events, and they promote me, and I'm a part of the Texas Country Music Association, so they're promoting me on their pages and stuff every now and then, and
Good.
so that's how I kind of did it from the ground up. But I got lucky enough. There's a veteran organization called Operation Encore,
Okay.
and they started this program to get veteran musicians funding to pursue this and kind of do this thing. And they don't ask for anything other than if they have an event, like come to the event, like they want to be part of that. They want you to be part of their organization and support
Yeah.
them and promote them. And in turn, they financially back your projects. So my wife actually saw it, and from the guy from the VFW, I think sent it over. He saw this thing like submit your videos and whatever. So they heard one of my songs and got on a Zoom call with me, and we ended up liking each other. And they were like, "All right, man, we want you to be a part of the Operation Encore." I think they took 5 people last year, and great guys. Guy is the head of it. That's his name, and he's a good dude. And so he took me out to San Francisco. They pay for your flight and your hotel through the organization, and they pay for your songs. You recorded like 3 songs. So I went up to their studio in San Francisco, the one he typically uses. They'll pay for you to do something else stuff, and recorded 3 songs, and it turned out phenomenal. Well, they're always pushing their artists. They're pushing me. They got a show. They got a lot of artists in Nashville, and so they got a show coming up at the listening room that somebody had to go work, and so they couldn't make it. And so I'm going up to Nashville to play with them. So like the bigger shows that I'm getting to do is through that organization. I'm going to
Okay.
play in Homer, Alaska. I'm helping them to have another organization that they're starting to partner with, and it's a veteran project in Homer, Alaska, to build cabins and kind of get away on like a songwriter retreat. And they did this songwriter thing at Zach Brown's Camp Southern Ground. So they do a lot of things, and that's where I'm starting to dig my feet in a little bit with them. But
Okay.
it's all relatively new. I mean, it's been over the past year. Before that, I wasn't really. I was just doing everything myself, like trying to call people and promote myself. And I'm getting to open up for Chris Young in Alaska, and that's just through me meeting people while I was in Alaska, and got to know some of the radio hosts and some of the DJs, played my music at the bar, and got to talk to some people and be like, hey. Luckily, I have fans up there. So when they say Chris Young was coming to Alaska, a lot of my friends and people that used to come out to my gigs started commenting like, "You should get Schaefer up here." So when we messaged him, we're like, "Hey, how about it?" He was like, "All right, come on." So
That's awesome,
um,
man.
yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I think Operation Encore is really helping me get into the Nashville thing and getting my songs sounding professional. And then just gig wise, I'm just pushing it, reaching out to people, and I've got K95 in Richmond, Virginia, as a country music station, and their radio host Garrett Dahl, he's been real good to me, and he's playing my music whenever he gets the chance. On Sundays, usually he gets to do the programming as a part of iHeart Radio, so they have their own like, this is what you can play, you can't play the other stuff. But
Yeah.
he has kind of a pool on Sundays, so he can pick whatever he wants. And so he's working on getting me to do some events out there, and hopefully open us up for some people out there. So I'm just trying to make contacts where I can and see if I can
Yeah.
weasel my way in places. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's been good. So I got him in Virginia that I'm pretty thankful for, and the people in Alaska that I'm thankful for, and then Operation Encore. They're kind of running the show for me. I'm just showing up where I'm supposed to go.
That's what we
And
do in
then
the Army, man. You
yeah,
be at the right place at the right time, right
yeah.
uniform.
The last year, my wife has been calling every place for me, booking stuff without like this last year I haven't had to do any thinking other than through Operation Encore, because I'm in contact with them. Everybody else she's in contact with, and she just says, "Hey, you got this going on, go do it. Hey, you got a gig here, you got a gig here." Sometimes it turns out for the worst, like, "Hey, you got a free gig 5 hours away." Well, crap. All right, who's paying for gas? So sometimes it's not that great, but yeah, I haven't had to stress about any of that. I'm working over, like I said, at the med school earlier in the podcast, doing research on these mice, and I'm there all day. And so I don't have my phone or anything. So I come back from doing that and I'm tired. That's my 9 to 5. And she's like, all right, you got a gig here, you got a gig here. I'm like, thank God, because she's doing that like during the day and I don't have to think about it. So
Yeah.
makes it real easy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm not gonna lie, seeing, I don't know who's doing your videos and pictures and stuff, but man, on Facebook, it looks professional. It looks
Oh,
awesome.
that's my wife, and she has gotten really good at it over the past year. She started I don't know, I can't remember what they used to look like, but she spends hours on them now. Like she was
Yeah.
just making one right before I got on here with you, and she's making flyers. She's going to pick them up from CVS now to go put around places, but she's gotten really good at it. And then the use of AI, like new technology, a lot of these apps now, you can take a picture and be like, take the background out, and it just gives you the people, which makes it
Yeah.
a lot easier to make these cool patchwork that doesn't look patchy.
Yeah.
So it's been good. She's learning every time she does a postcard or something, it looks even better. I'm like, dang, this one looks like I paid for it. I like it.
Yeah, man. I agree. Following the page,
Yeah.
it looks real professional, man.
Thank you. Well, now she's asking for like a percentage of my gigs. So I think that's the downfall to it looking good, I guess.
Yeah. Well, just a reminder, anytime, if divorces ever come up after 10 years, you get half
Yeah.
the retirement.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's had people reach out about doing shoot over the last 2 weeks. People have like contacted her about the artwork and been like, who does this for you? Like, she's the one on my Facebook answering people. So she's
Yeah.
like, well, I do. So she, one of the bars we played at was asking us last week. And then one of the other musicians in town was like, hey, if I paid you, could you make some for me? Like, this is nice. So
Yeah.
she might be getting into her own little business here soon.
I'm
We'll
gonna tell
see.
so all my artwork is done by a soldier that I
Yeah.
served with, and
Yeah.
she's an amazing artist. And the prices I pay for everything, man.
Yeah.
I don't try to even do it myself anymore,
Yeah.
you know.
I couldn't do it myself. And I'd probably stress too much because I'd be like, does this look like it's just easier to be like, hey, give me something. Like, I'm glad she does it because I tried making them on my own and then I worry about it too much. Like, maybe
Yeah.
this is a bad picture of me. Should I do this? This font's stupid, like
Yep.
the dumbest worries, but I still worry. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll just let somebody else do it. So I'm glad she's doing it.
Yep. Yeah. And me too. Yeah. I'm in the middle of writing a book, and she's doing all my illustrations and
Oh,
the
nice.
cover and all that stuff. I got my
Yeah.
daughter doing all the proofreading and everything else. I'm kind of like you.
Nice.
I'm letting the smarter people around me do
Yeah.
the real stuff. I'm just putting words on the paper.
Yeah. Do the creative stuff. Let them do the
Yep.
fixing it up.
Yep. Absolutely, man. So what do you think? You think sometime down the road, maybe there's a USO tour when we're in Afghanistan part 2?
I hope so. Actually, I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be.
Yeah, I think that'd be a full circle moment, and I think I'd love to be a part of something like that. And I think it might work out. I think of all the things that could work out in the future, that one's pretty pretty high up on the likely list
Yeah.
if I can get it working. So I would love to do that, and hopefully I meet the right people throughout the next year and can make that something that happens.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think with the group that you're in, man, I think big things are coming. You know,
Yeah, yeah, it's a
like I
great
said,
great organization.
between your wife and that organization and your music, I mean, it seems like a home run to me.
Yeah, it's I've been getting lucky, I'll say. It's a lot of work over the past couple of years or however many years. Yeah, like past 4 or 5 years that didn't have any fruit grow from it until the last 6, 7 months. And it's just like this is awesome. Everything's starting to work out.
Yeah.
So that's what it
I,
takes. It's just waiting.
I think that's what they mean by you got to put in your time. And
Yeah.
I think you've done that, and now you're starting to get some pay for it.
Yeah. It's starting to work out. And I know it's a 10-year business, so I'm only halfway there. So I can't be too anxious to get ahead. But I
Yeah.
think yeah, I've definitely seen pay from stuff I've done way long ago and just time I put in that I thought, well, this is just wasted time. And I've got discouraged. But now seeing people stream my music and seeing like every day I can see how many people listen on certain platforms. I'm like, somebody's listening every day.
Yeah.
Every day there's a group of people somewhere listening in the country.
Yep.
And so I'm happy enough with that. I don't get paid for that. Well, I get like 8 cents for every 1,000 listens, but
Right.
it's like I get to see people actually listening, and that's like, all right, well, now I want to keep going. Like anytime I get discouraged, I just go on that little app. I'm on Spotify. I'm like, how many people listen today? Oh, there's 300 people listening right now. I like it. Like
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
And that's not that can't be taken lightly either, because when you're talking about music, and this is different than comedy. Music reaches out and touches the soul.
Yeah.
People relate to what's going on in their life to the music that they're listening to. So when you
Yeah.
see that, that's not just people listening. That's people that are absorbing. you
Yeah.
know
They're listening to the words and like feeling it, which
yep.
is crazy because like, well, one song I wrote, it's like the most popular one right now for me is Stubborn. I wrote that before I joined the army, right? That was when I was living in my car, and I saved up money to buy a new guitar instead of getting a place to live. And I was just happy eating my dry ramen, living back there,
Yep.
doing my thing. And so I wrote a song about being stubborn, like, I'm happy doing this, whatever. But I was drinking a lot and sleeping in the bar parking lot and whatnot. And so I guess that song has a little bit of that, like people that know they're making the wrong decision and they're making the wrong choice. That's what that song's about. People are listening to that. I thought though the song people would mostly relate to is a song called Happy. Operation Encore and I had a little discussion and changed the name eventually, and so now it's called Happy, and it's about like just being super down and depressed and suicidal and laying on the ground just lost, staring at the ceiling. And like that one, I think when people hear it, that's the one that touches them the most, but it's not getting on the algorithms to go through, right? Because
Yeah.
it's sad and whatnot. But when people come up to me and they're like, if they know my songs and they listen to all of them, like that's the one people come up like that song, that gets me in my feel, like that gives me chills, that gives me that feels like that song makes me cry. Like that's a song that I think is actually the one that might actually touch people enough where they actually feel it. Like the other ones, they're all stories of my life, but um some of them I try not to take too seriously, right? But that
Yeah.
song I sat there and I wrote like in in my dark time, in a dark place, I wrote it. So it was
Yeah.
like no holding back. Like this is what I'm feeling, this is what it is. So I like when people over the last couple of months have come up, and I put it out June 1st, and now they're starting to hear it. I put it out an acoustic album with it 2 years ago. Not a lot of people heard it. And I mean, it was poorly recorded, sitting right here in the office with this one mic and one take because I didn't know how to edit or anything. So I deleted that since then and just have the professional version. But yeah, I mean, at gigs, people come up that I never met, like, man, I heard that song Happy, and that touched me. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And now
You
some
know,
of the bars here are playing it. So that's good too.
oh, awesome, man.
Yeah.
And,
So I get to hear it.
and I think, and I've always said this, and people can disagree with me. You see the media talking about how there's a mental health crisis in the United States, right?
Yeah.
And then people hear that song, songs like that, and they automatically think of veterans and suicide. But I
Yeah.
think that a song like that can reach a lot of people right now, because
Yeah.
just between substance abuse and the amount of homeless people and the people that are living barely getting by and seeing their kids suffer because they're not sure if next week we're going to have a house or not. you
Yeah.
know I think a song like that could reach a lot of people,
I think,
not just the military.
yeah. So when I originally wrote it, I did not think about veteran suicide as part of it. I mean, I was just in a suicidal, depressed state.
Right.
I didn't think of it being veteran related. Um, and I was in this bad down state or whatever, right, in 2019. And I went to a concert in Alaska, and we met this couple. They're sitting by the stage with us. We started talking, and my wife was like, "Oh, he sings, he writes songs." And she was like, "Could you write me a song?" And my daughter's keeps now she was a drug addict and kept doing stuff. And she's like, I've never talked to this woman again. But that was in the back of my mind. And so when I was down, I was also thinking about that because I wanted to write a song about
Mm-hmm.
drug addiction and whatnot. And so that was there. So when I wrote the song, it was it was my feelings, but also there's a part in there about demons and stuff. And that's a part where I specifically was thinking about that woman's daughter, who I think was like in the hospital with a drug issue. And I put it out, never thought about the veteran side of it. And then when I put it out, all the like the VFW and people and Operation Encore, they're like, yeah, that's a veteran song. And so I made some stuff for it and did some school projects with veteran suicide and started really diving into that. And I was like, yeah, I guess it does make a lot of sense that it's like
Yeah.
I made one music video for it, just real cut and paste, quick for a class, and got to put my uniform back on, act all take me back a couple of years, but I that it made it more veteran related. And
Yeah.
then with Operation Encore, I think more people are like the way we changed it up and used like happier chords. Um, I think a lot more people are going to be able to hear it and relate to it and make it. It started off not about veteran suicide, even though it kind of was in a way,
Yeah.
to taking a life form of that to coming back around. And now I think it's going to be for everybody. When I first put it out on Facebook, never recorded it, I had a good friend from high school. Her mom committed suicide, and she messaged me and was like, "Can you send me the lyrics to that song? I love that. Like, I that made me cry. Whatever. This makes me think of my mom and how she was feeling." And she was like, "That's a great song." And that was the first person to ever message me about a song, right? And it
Yeah.
touching them. This was probably back in 2019. Like I had only just recorded it, video, put it on Facebook, and I got that message, and that made me want to like. I wasn't even going to keep the song, to be honest, but that text was like, all right, I'm gonna try to fix this up, polish it, and record it. So that's when I was like, all right, this is a good one. So I mean, it immediately somebody immediately felt it that had just lost her mom 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and so I mean, I think it takes on different life forms and whatever people think about it. I had a podcast with Operation Encore, and we were talking about One Last Rodeo, one of my songs, and I wrote it because I went to a friend's son's rodeo, and I was like, I want to write a rodeo song, and then I was like, well, actually, I want to write a song about somebody on their deathbed, um, and kind of just like hint at these things, right? So it's a song about somebody laying there with their family, like, give me one more good night before I go. This is
Okay.
it for me. Let's have one more last hurrah. And when I was in that podcast, he was like, I hear it as something different. I hear it as like you're about to break up with her, and you're like, give me one more night of that good stuff, and then we'll go. And then somebody else is like, yeah, I get it. Like you're just like you're about to quit drinking. You're like, let's just go down hard one more night. Like let's get one more party night, and then we'll stop drinking. And I was like, dang, like that's a song where everybody has a different meaning to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good song then, because to me it's some dude dying, but y'all are like, yeah, we're gonna party. Oh yeah, we're getting hooked up. I was like, oh, all right, hell yeah.
But that's exactly how,
Yeah,
interpretation, they're interpreting it to
yeah,
meet their needs.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Maybe they
absolutely, man.
maybe they want to quit drinking. They're like, all right, yeah, I have one more party night and quit drinking. It's like, nah, dude, I was just all right. Whatever you guys hear, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just hit play.
Yeah, right.
Well, brother, I tell you what, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you for having me. I really
if
appreciate it.
if there's ever anything we can do, obviously anything you put on your page, I'm going to share the hell out of it and
Thank you.
and
Yeah,
help get you out there. But if there's ever anything we can do, let me know. And man, it's done.
I really appreciate it, man.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you guys keep playing and tell your wife I said thank you for your service and I hope you guys are safe, man.
Yeah, you too, man. I appreciate it, and hopefully I'll be up in that way, Missouri, at some point. I got a couple buddies up there still at Leonard Wood, so might go visit soon. Try to get a gig up there.
Well, let me know, man. We'll have a beer.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, man. You take care.
You too.
Bye.